Manx Radio Podcasts, powered by Shore.
Welcome to the Women Today podcast. We have been joined on the show today by a fascinating woman. She's an adventurer, I would describe her as. She's an explorer. She's someone who just goes out and gets stuff done. Fiona Hill-Heaton, it has been fascinating hearing from you today. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
We didn't cover anywhere near as much as I hope we'd be able to. Our show is far too short to speak about all of your adventures. So I just wanted to find out, first of all, you mentioned when you sent us the information about your trip with, across the Atlantic, sailing across the Atlantic, you mentioned that music played a very important part on that trip.
Oh, huge. We have such a wealth of local music here, from Ruth Kegan, we have Barul McLear, Jamie Smith's Mabon, we have Mollig Band. We've got masses, and that formed. We had music on the iPod, so that formed quite a good, because a lot of it is very seafaring music as well, and some of it some music was you just had to put it on as we were in certain sea conditions as well. But we also had some rhythm and blues. We had some rocky stuff as well. It was a real eclectic mix of music, and sometimes we just enjoyed the peace and listened to the sea. But yeah.
You didn't bring your bagpipes with you then?
I actually did bring a set of small pipes.
You did not?
I did. They're not the most practical, to be honest. I have actually brought my bagpipes when we were sailing up around Scotland, and I bought a set of small pipes which are bellows blown, and I thought, yeah, I'll have time to learn to play these really well. And I ended up I brought them back on the plane. I think I'll just stick to whistles. My tin whistles, because they're much more portable, because bagpipes don't travel well on a rib and to other people's boats when we're having get-togethers. But yeah, brought them.
I wonder what does it sound like playing bagpipes out in the middle of the ocean?
Brilliant. Nobody can hear you. Nobody can hear my partner scream.
Oh dear, that's Terry that we just heard about on the show, who, of course, you got engaged to while you were travelling, which is fantastic. When you do something like this, you're going to places that we can't even dream of, and you'll be potentially seeing creatures that I will probably never see in my lifetime. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the encounters you had with wildlife?
Yeah, dolphins. And it was interesting. As we were travelling down towards the Scillies, you get the common dolphins there, and then out towards Spain, and there you get the Atlantic spotted dolphins, and you get a chance to really see their behaviours. And these guys, it just never ceased to amaze us that we began to recognise, you'd see flocks of birds, and there would be fishing, and in amongst them would generally be the dolphins, and they'd be a few miles away, and they would come over to us. There was nothing around us, hundreds of miles of ocean, and yet they would come over to join us. And they would look at you, and they would pace themselves and make sure you'd seen them, and they were going to put on a show. If we weren't up at the bow, they would join us at the cockpit. But if we were able to go up to the bow and watch them, they would just play with us for an hour or so. And different times a day, they had different play as well. We had young ones with us. Around tea time, you got really boisterous play, a lot of tail slapping, leaping out of the water, 8 or 9 of them at once. It was fascinating. And then they all kind of calmed down. I thought they might be like teenagers, just having a real blast before it's like, come on, guys, bedtime. So you'd really got that chance to see the different periods of behaviour. Yeah, it was fascinating.
And what about whales? Did you see any whales?
Yes, we saw pilot whales, and we saw. I'm absolutely convinced there were Eden whales, tropical rorqual whales, in the Atlantic, and it's quite funny because you spend a lot of your time during the day going, sat in the cockpit going, I'm not going to look behind me because the swell's so big. I'm not going to look behind you, and it's a bit like sort of. You look around and think, my goodness, those waves are big. But then I looked behind one day and I thought, there's something behind us. And as I looked, and it was a brilliant sunny day, the sea was this deep, deep blue. And then I could see, and the swell was big enough to see this. And I thought, it's a whale. And she or he was big enough. They're 30-odd foot. Our boat's 38, and they were 30, 35 feet. The swell is big enough where you could see her whole body. It was like a single-decker bus. And there was enough swell above and below her. You know, that's how big the swells were. And they came down. There was a line of them. And they would come alongside us. And we have what we call a towed generator, which is a long length of rope, and at the end of it is a long metal propeller. That's another story. There was stuff out there that we didn't know about. They would stop and they would slow down and study it, and then they'd come past us and eyeball us, and then a flick of the tail, they'd be under the boat. These guys can tip you over. And you can hit them, but they knew what they were doing, and they would just come and watch us.
Did you ever feel in danger, whether it was from these big animals, which, you know, I said could flip you, or from anything else in particular? You mentioned some of the big waves, I know, but...
No.
Really?
Yeah. You know, you got a bit scared. I did anyway, because it's a whole different ball game out there of the conditions. But no, Cece's a good boat. We trusted her, trusted each other. No.
Wow, you amaze me, you really do. One of the other things that you mentioned to us in advance of coming on the show just sounded like it would be an incredibly magical experience with the comet and the
Yeah, you do see the stars and the different phases of the moon is interesting. You really do get a sense of just what a speck you are. I wrote in my blog that you're just like a flea on a dog's back. You're tiny. And the star system, you really get a chance to study it. But there was one night we saw, don't know if it was burning space debris or a comet. It was so close, and we had time to watch it arc over the sky, and you could see the flames coming from the head of the ball of fire. It was orange and yellow, and the tail was green and white. You could see the individual flames. And we had time to sit there and watch it for a minute or so as it just burnt up over us.
How do you come back to normal life after witnessing things like that?
Yeah, it's kind of strange. I love being home. I liken it to stepping through the wardrobe of Narnia, because it is a totally different way of life. So your clothing's different. The way of life is very physical. You have to make your own electricity, your own water. That was the other thing with the towed generator. It's towed behind a long rope, and we'd heard stories of when you cross the Atlantic that the ropes get chewed, and we went, no, it's not true. Well, we were fishing in the hope that we would catch some fish. You get some beautiful big fish, and we did get a couple. We had flying fish as well that would land on the boat and at night would hit you on the head. But the fishing line got snagged in the rope, and Terry pulled it in, which was just as well, because something had been chewing our rope.
Oh, gosh.
And something had been nomming at the long metal propeller.
At the propeller? And had actually made a mark on the metal propeller.
There were teeth marks all the way down the shaft of the propeller.
And what do you think it was?
We don't know. But the gap between the teeth was like a couple of inches, and you could clearly see where something had been biting at
And yet
it.
you still didn't feel it danger at all?
No.
Absolutely crackers. Fiona, if anyone would like to find out about your adventures, you do have the blog. Where can they find it?
It's Sisu Journey, all one word, lowercase, .wordpress.com.
And Sisu's SISU, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. All the best for your future endeavours. When is it you do go away again?
We go away first week in November. It's my dad's 80th, 3rd of November, so we're going to be celebrating that. And then we're off back to Curacao, kit her out again. I miss her. We miss her very much. It was very emotional leaving her behind. Get her ready, and then we probably head back to Bonaire to do some more scuba diving, and then up to Puerto Rico and Cuba and find out more about that country, get there before it becomes too touristy, I think, and then maybe look at Colombia. So it's back down near Venezuela, I think.
As you do.
I know.
Fiona, the places you have been to and the things you have seen, it must make the Isle of Man just feel incredibly tiny.
No. I mean, we live at St Jude's. My dad is down in Castletown. His cottage is by the beach. And it's a long trip down there, yes, sir?
Women today. Don't sit in the slow lane. Join the fast lane right now with Shaw's all-new Superfast Plus broadband. Enjoy more bandwidth, amazing speeds and the best value on the island from just £23.95 per month. So don't be left behind. Get a piece of the high-speed action with Superfast Plus broadband from Shaw. For details, visit our stores in Douglas, Ramsey and Port Erin or click shaw.com.
Love being Shaw.
Terms and conditions apply.